Today's guest is someone who is so important to me, important to the growth that I've made in the last couple years, to some major changes in my life that have led me to love and true happiness. I don't think he even knows what an impact that he has had on me, but his name is Drew Horning, and he's a teacher and a coach at the Hoffman Institute. Hoffman Institute is a place that I went to, and I was deep diving into a lot of my patterns and my childhood to really figure out a way forward that would work for me. And it's just been the most important thing I've ever done in my life, the best thing I've ever done in my life. And he is a huge part of it. So welcome to the podcast, Drew. Welcome to the Pap Smear podcast.
Oh my God.
Where we don't just scratch the surface, we go deeper. With one of my favorite people, Drew Horning, who is a facilitator and a teacher and everything with the Hoffman Institute, which was the best thing I ever did in my life.
Really?
To date. And the reason that I believe I am the happiest, healthiest me right now.
Wow.
So it worked. It worked. It was, and I can't ever imagine not saying will always be the greatest thing I've ever done for myself.
That's saying something. Because you've done a lot of work, right?
I had never done anything.
Wait, really?
I had done maybe a handful of couples therapy with my ex.
Wow.
But other than that, I had never done anything.
How'd you hear about it?
I heard about it. I was in this house going through the breakup. And then I left here and I went to Cabo with one of my best friends. And we were there. I told her the whole story. You know, she's like sick and tired of hearing the bullshit. It was always the same. Yeah. Same pattern, same thing.
Looping.
Yep. And she goes, you need to go to this place called the Hoffman Process. I'm like, what does that mean? She gets on her laptop and she's like, okay, I got you signed up.
Really?
That was it.
Wow.
And you don't know all this. I mean, we just talked about this. Like, you are so important to me. Yeah. You are someone I will never forget. You have just truly changed the game for me.
Well, when you say you, it's the plural you, because yes, I'm a teacher, but it really is the process that's incredible, isn't it?
But like one of the most transformative and the tipping point for me in the process was you pushing me to pick one person over another during one of the processes.
One of the experiences
in the process.
Yeah.
And I was teetering back and forth, and you came up to me, you go, who are you going to choose, Allison? And I said, well, it's between my sister and between my ex-boyfriend. And you pushed me to choose one. And that, to me, that day...
Was that helpful?
That was the moment.
Wow.
And not only that, you're not going to... Hopefully, you'll remember this, but you're probably not. You came up to me right before we started. And I was by the chair, kneeling by the chair. You just kind of came over and no one... You know, you're so good about that. You're so sly. And you just came over and you go, this is it. I want you to really let go here. I want you to really do this. And I just remember I had this lump in my throat, and I was like, I had not really let go yet. And we were 4 days into it? So I hadn't really allowed myself to let go. And when you whispered that in my ear and guided me prior to that to picking that person, that was it for me. Yeah. It was a beautiful moment that I am so grateful for.
Wow, I didn't know that.
If I didn't have you in the process, my process would have been very different. So that's why, yes, Hoffman,
Yeah.
but yes, Drew,
Yeah.
you are the man.
Well, thank you.
Everyone in the group wanted you.
Thank you.
We all talk, you know.
Do you keep in touch with the
I mean,
people?
when we're there,
Yeah.
you know, everyone's like, you have Drew? Oh, God. We wish we had Drew.
Well, you know, those experiences, it's like get it in now because she's about to go into an experience. And having been a therapist where in my version of what I did was really just talk therapy. And then when I did the process, I finished the process. I had been a therapist for 15 years. I finished the process and I said, fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a therapist anymore. This is too incredible. So I trained right away to become a facilitator, a teacher.
And when you were doing therapy for 15 years, what type of therapy was it?
It was more like talk therapy, cognitive
Really?
kind of.
But like with one-on-one?
One-on-one, yes. Like straight up 50-minute sessions, one-on-one.
What was like the common, there's always a common something with a type of therapy, right?
Yeah,
What would you see a lot of, I should say?
saw a lot of people like the complaints. So the presenting problem is what they would say is a lot of relationship stuff, marriages. I ended up, because there were fewer men in the field, I ended up as a male therapist getting a lot of men. So a lot of it was around work stress, job dissatisfaction, you know, and then also marriage.
Of course.
Their wives, their girlfriends. But you know what was really interesting is they were lonely. Like a lot of them wanted connection.
Yeah.
They were lonely. Hoffman is incredible, but it's even more incredible because it's done in community.
Yeah.
You're not by yourself. You're with your classmates.
Which is also jarring.
It is. What do you mean?
For me.
Was it?
Yeah.
Why?
For me, it was like, okay, you're going to go to this place. You're going to give your phone, which I couldn't wait. I got there the night before and the lady checks me in at 11. I'm like, here's my phone. She goes, no, tomorrow. I go, here's my phone.
Did you give it over Friday night?
She wouldn't take it.
Oh, okay.
But like, I didn't know. You don't know what to expect. I did not ask a lot of questions of my friend, and she was very good about not sharing too much. And I found that with my fellow graduates, that we are it's like Fight Club. You know, it's like, it's ours.
We say to people, there are no secrets.
Yeah.
You can share whatever you want to share. People forget this because what they remember is, I don't want to share. Yeah. I want to save the experience for those who haven't gone.
If you really, really like or love the person that you're trying to steer there, you don't want to ruin it.
Yeah.
And you're not like, that'll lead to something else. But like when I got there, it was, I know nothing about this. I didn't really read much, but I had done the paperwork.
Yeah, the homework is a big deal.
It's called the pre-process homework.
Yeah.
Which took me, you guys are pretty accurate, 8 to 9 hours to do. Yeah. And I didn't do it over one night or whatever. Good. It took me 4 or 5 days. And I did it in this house. Oh. And my rock bottom, where I was like already signed up and ready to roll, because I had canceled 2 times before.
You did?
Because one of my patterns was like always working.
Oh, so you
and so I said yes to other shows. And then they were like, we can't get you in. And they're like, we'll let you know. They go, we can get you in 2 weeks, but it's right after the holiday. And I was here and I was at my darkest. Like the breakup was very raw. It was like ready to happen, but I wasn't ready for, no matter what, you're never ready to break up with someone. And I just remember doing the paperwork, which is for me when the process starts.
Yes.
That paperwork.
Yeah, that's the on-ramp.
Yeah. If you do it right, if you don't just go through it to just mark some boxes and like get there, then you've already started the process with that paperwork.
That's true.
Yeah, it was just scary. Like when I was doing the one-on-one couples therapy that I did a handful of times with my ex, it was on Zoom. It was during COVID. Like also, I wasn't invested in the relationship. So it wasn't like I gave a shit there. Yeah. But I sure as hell was invested in myself. Yeah. So being there and ready for change, like Tell everyone, like, it's the Hoffman process.
When you're serious about change.
I always thought it was when you're ready for change.
No, serious.
When you're serious about change. And I'm going to tell you something that couldn't be more perfect, because if you're not serious about change, don't go.
Yeah.
Don't waste your money.
Yeah.
Don't waste people's time. Yeah. Don't waste Drew's amazing genius.
It won't, it's harder to stay in the work. The work's hard. Like, this is not an easy week, is it?
It is not an easy week, but it is something that when I now look back on it, I go, it was the easiest thing I've ever done.
I had someone say to me, this is like boot camp for your psyche.
That's a good one.
And it was like, there
That's
are
true.
a lot of, it's intense. It's an immersive experience. You don't know. Someone said just recently, I interviewed for the podcast, said that I've never lived my life where I didn't know what was going to happen the next day or the day that when I woke up. And at Hoffman, for 7 days in a row, I had no idea what was going to happen moment to moment.
It's the unknown.
He said that kind of surrender into the unknown was hard and amazing.
So the process ends, you do a weekend to kind of...
We call that an integration weekend.
And don't skip that, okay? Because it's true. Like, some people probably go home, don't do the weekend, quit their jobs, and start like a hot dog stand.
Yeah. We also say no major life changes for 60 days.
Which is very smart, because I could see somebody or anybody, and this leads to a lot of questions that I have. I'm so curious. One of the big things that's come out of this process for me, and one of the biggest changes for me, is like that curiosity has just changed my life. It's changed the way I communicate, changed the way...
You got curiosity at Hoffman? Like, that was one of the things that emerged for you?
Because I found out so much about me that I'm a control freak. I'm a A-type, got this, I need to know, like, let's get this shit done. I have no patience. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not patient anymore. I've exercised more patience, but getting out of this, what I never thought I was even looking for, how could it not make you more curious about everything else in life?
Yeah.
If I didn't even know that about me. Yeah. One of the things going into it was I thought that everything else in life was perfect. Work, family, friends, but love, I just couldn't get it right. I couldn't get it right. What's wrong with me? I'm broken. Like, I'm broken. I'm the problem.
Did you tear up a little bit there?
No, I choked legit.
Okay.
Yeah, I promise. I'm going to cry if I want to cry. I'm ready to cry. I want to cry.
Okay.
It was like that day that you told me let go, that lump in my throat cleared and the tears poured out, and I didn't want anyone to see it. And then I went...
You and I can put words to it now, and you're describing it. But in a way, words don't do justice to the experience, do they?
No words can ever describe or take anyone on an emotional ride with you. There's no way to do it unless you've done it. There is no way. Hoffman Institute and the process is something that life is so short. And I don't want to waste it. And everyone that knows me before the process and after knows that I don't waste a day. And I live it to its fullest. Amen. And even through pain and sadness, I laugh and I love and I can compartmentalize. But now it's like I just couldn't love life more. I couldn't be more excited about like what's to come. And you, one of the things that you said to me on day 2 of the process was, gosh, I can't wait to see what this does for you on like your TV show. And I was like, no. I said this to you. I go, no, I'm really like good on my show. Like I show everyone who I am and like I'm very vulnerable. You couldn't have been more right again.
Wow. So how has it impacted your
To me, I think
shows?
that it has to me, I have just really been like, here's who I am. Like it or don't like it. And I think what I've seen with like viewers is maybe they don't like that. To me, I think people they don't want to see drama. They don't want the conflict. And the unfortunate part about my business is that it is surrounded.
I thought that they'd be drawn to conflict.
And a lot of people do, right? So I have a lot of amazing fans and people that want that because they want the real, raw experience of design and construction. And then some people want to sit on the couch and they don't want problems. They want beautiful and they want perfect.
Want the visual. Yeah. They want the remodel without the drama
correct.
Of the people.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so you can't please them all.
You can't please them all. Yeah. And I'm not going to try anymore. Like for me, as long as I'm happy and I walk away at the end of each day and I go, God, I gave it everything. Or I was vulnerable and I handled myself the right way. Like right before we started the podcast, I showed you a clip.
Showed me a clip. I was just going to bring that up because in that clip.
The clip is of my new show, Sin City Rehab.
Sin City, yeah.
And we have a little clip that we did. We're only 3 months into filming that we sent the network to be like, here's what Sin City Rehab is. So I showed Drew.
Yeah, and it was like there were a couple moments where you leaned in and like named it and confronted it and called it out. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
But then you also were kind and enrolling and like, come on, Jeff. Come on, let's, but it doesn't have to be this way. That's not. And so I loved that combination.
Were you proud of me?
Yes, indeed.
I didn't even think about it when I showed it to you.
The hard part is to set boundaries and to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like that combination of standing up, but also being transparent and kind and open and strong. It's that cocktail of both and is not easy.
That's really interesting. I have so many questions. So here's what I'm going to ask you. Being the greatest instructor at the Hoffman Institute, how does it feel knowing like even just with the small amount of stuff I've told you right now, like you probably hear it all the time from people where it's like you truly are like one of the most important people in my life.
Oh my gosh.
How does that feel?
It feels like something that I should hold carefully and lovingly.
Yeah.
And I see it as in a way, I become like the good daddy, like the guiding presence for you. And so your positive experience, in part, I get pulled into that. And so I'm associated with your transformation. And
always and forever.
Yeah. And so, I'm grateful for it. I'm humbled.
Do you hear it a lot?
Well, I mean, somebody once did
I feel like a jealous girlfriend. Do a lot of other people say this to you?
Well, people have powerful experiences.
Yeah.
Our rating for like customer satisfaction is super high. But there are some people, in the transformation space, it's bumpy. Like there's letting go of old things. There's getting stuck. There's, getting mad at the facilitators. We also take on some people who, when transformation starts to happen and they get stuck a little or they get confused a little or they go into hurt, and sometimes they're like, oh, I feel this.
Oh.
And so they're like, you're causing this.
You did this.
You did this.
Finger pointing.
Yeah, a little. Because like I was fine. And in this thing, you all are the problem.
I can see a lot of that.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of that in my class.
Did you?
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So with every positive is also some moments of time. Generally, it's incredible by the end. But in the middle, sometimes we got to fasten our seatbelts as facilitators and hang in there because people are in the process of transformation, which if it were easier, more people would do it.
Yeah.
And so it's so hard that in a way you need the process to help you navigate that.
How do you, okay, so I did 1 week and I was exhausted, but in the most beautiful way, in the most like exhilarating,
Your weekend
exhaustion.
we call that the integration weekend. I think I said that.
The integration weekend was
But were you tired?
I
Did you
was-
sleep?
I
Or were you
I'm
so
a sleeper.
wired?
I sleep
Oh,
8
okay.
to 10 hours a night.
Oh my
I'm great
gosh.
at it. Like I'm an expert sleeper.
Well done.
Still just as good. Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
in a world where people are struggling to
I
sleep.
know. I want to do
Do you
an
ever talk
interview.
about sleep on your
So I'm
on
going to
your
talk
show?
about sleep on my podcast, and I hope to get Ariana Huffington on here.
Oh my God.
Because she did a TED Talk that I will never forget called Women Sleeping Their Way to the Top.
No way.
Now, how
That's a
how
great
sticky
title.
is that title?
Yeah, I love it.
That's why Pap Smear Podcast is sticky too, isn't it?
It is. It is so good. And so it's all about
Sleeping.
sleep.
It's like
And did that
Ariana
help you
Huffington-
sleep better?
No.
Or you had always been a good
I loved
sleeper?
it because I thought, okay, here we go. Finally, the guys can stop bragging that they got 4 hours and they took this red eye
Yes.
and they only did that. It's like, okay, good for you, idiot.
Yeah.
You're actually way under me.
Yeah.
I'm way above you because I got 10 hours. And so sleep is very important and also very rare. I know that I have like a superpower to sleep, but I was not tired. I don't drink caffeine. You saw me drink a little Coca-Cola, but that's like a treat. But I don't drink coffee or anything. And I was just like energy, ready.
Yeah.
But it's exhausting in a way that to me was invigorating. Like it was like, oh my God, what did I just do? Oh my God, I left here. First person I called was my mom, who I had a big disdain for prior to the process. And the first call I made was to my mom and I said, I love you. And I meant it. I meant it.
How'd she react?
She was like, tell me everything and tell me why and tell me this and tell me why you didn't love me. And I'm like, I'll tell you when I see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I left there seeing her and loving her and like good, bad, ugly, whatever happened in the past. Let's talk about it, but let's move on. That's you, Drew.
Well, you know, they say if it's not one thing, it's your mother.
Okay, that's funny as shit. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
If it's not one thing, it's your
It's your mother. But you know, I mean,
It
these
is,
are
Mom. She knows.
these are primary relationships. These are critical relationships that we learn. We get a blueprint for how to be in the world. And so, yeah, the process does kind of navigate mom and dad at first.
Yeah.
And then, as you talked about, it moves into the other relationships.
And so my question is, so coming out of this exhausted, but invigorated, but like life-changing, you're going into this how many times a month?
Probably once or twice a month.
You're doing more than once a month?
Sometimes, because if depending on
How do you
schedule,
do this?
You know, when I used to teach, my kids are now 20 and 18.
Oh my God.
But when I first started teaching, they were young, and I would come home, and my wife would be like, "Drew, you got to get up off the couch. Like, you've been gone a week. Like, come on, buddy.
We need ya."
I'd be like, I can't. I'm trying. I can't, because I was just so exhausted from the week.
You are giving. I saw you, and you didn't act like you'd done this however many times. You couldn't be more present. You've got your own shit going on. You've got your life. You've got your patterns and your problems, but you are there. And so giving all of you to the process while you're there with X amount of people. You don't have your small group only. You have 40 people, let's call it. And you are what you were to me. You're that to so many people. That is very taxing. That is very demanding and emotionally draining. I'm assuming. I'm speaking for you, and that's so not Hoffman.
Well-
but I'm asking you.
Well, you know, I think there's a way to ask questions by making a point and being like, "Is that true?"
Is it true?
Yeah,
Drew?
But you know, a couple things. One is like breaks are critical. Like, so while you would be in the classroom and doing stuff, we would sneak, some teachers, we'd have little breaks.
Go to a scream room.
Scream room, get a little bit of exercise, go outside on the land.
Yes,
right?
that
land is
land.
beautiful.
It's
isn't it?
magical.
Yeah.
It's magical.
It really is. It's beautiful. But the other thing is I'm an extrovert. So like
Yeah, you are.
like this stuff is energizing. But also I think part of what true presence is generative for the other, because people feel you present,
Yeah.
as you've talked about. But it's also generative, energizing for me, because I'm deeply connected to myself
Yeah.
as I'm in presence with you. And that actually is restorative. It's nurturing. I'm not just like only you and forgetting about me. That would make me sick.
Oh, God,
be
you would not
exhausted.
be here.
Yeah. And I couldn't respond or be as supportive. Part of what helps me show up is that I'm here as well. And I think more people would be better at presence with others if they knew that they could also be dialed in to themselves.
The Hoffman Institute, the Hoffman Process has it dialed down. How many years? 54?
Yeah, almost 55, 56.
Almost 55 years. So there's no process for 55 years that's still going strong if it's not doing something big. Yeah. You guys have that schedule dialed down. Yeah. You show up at this time, you end at this time. You're
very
getting
structured.
Very structured in the most strategic way, clearly from years and years and years of experience, but where you know the amount of break you're going to get. And it isn't enough for me, but it's the perfect amount for what you guys know as humans. It was so beautiful, that last lunch. You know, you get there and your phones are all in a pile, and you see the people that you predict are going to run to them. And those are the people that ran to them. I was the last person to pick up my phone.
You were?
The last person. I left it there the whole lunch. I was so scared of getting that phone because all I wanted to see was my ex-boyfriend's messages to me. And I didn't even want to get that phone.
It's all you wanted to see?
All I wanted to see.
And so then what prevented you from like running?
Because I had fear around falling back into that pattern. And I had fear that it would get me out of my practice. It was very interesting
good for you to have some discipline around not rushing to it.
Yeah.
But I should share that your situation is unique. Finding love.
Very unique.
You know, it's not as if that happens much at all.
No. And we are never the ones that are like trying to tell people, go find the love of your life, right?
More often, it's people. I just had a student who came before Christmas going because they wanted to find love in their life, and they wanted to look at the patterns that were blocking them.
Oh, okay. Going to find patterns, not to go there to find someone.
No.
Okay.
And so then I just talked to them a couple days ago, and they're like, oh my God, I found this beautiful relationship. Not with someone in the process.
Not in the process.
Yeah.
How often do you hear about two students from the same class?
Not much. Mostly they're friends, they're connected.
Or like graduates that might meet at a different event.
Yeah, so that can happen.
That I could see that
happening. Because
happening.
we have grad groups in all cities around the U.S.
Hoffman, they don't say, okay, bye now. Here's 20 courses you can take. And if you sign up now, you can get 50% off, blah, blah, blah. Like, bye.
Yeah.
You have the tools that you need. Go fly the nest and go make some magic. Yeah. But we're not here now.
Yeah.
Like, you do a follow-up call.
Yeah.
Which I took a while to call you.
A long time. In fact, I thought you were going to be one of those students who blows off the call. And then you're like, Drew, can we connect? I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I couldn't wait to talk to you.
It was like a year and a half.
I needed to really give myself that year to see real change, to know that this was something that will always, right? Patterns are always going to come up. You know, I want to tell you one thing about the experience. I had just had the tipping point transformation day with you in the group, where I like couldn't believe what came out of me and what came out like of me. And after that, I went out to the land and I had a moment with myself, directed by you guys, right? Everyone go. And I was out there, and then it was lunch. And I went back and I went to change. Everyone had walked to lunch. I never wanted to walk with anyone. I never wanted to like talk with anyone. I wasn't there to make friends, but I wasn't trying to avoid, I guess I was trying to avoid it a little. And so I went back to my room to go change into some like rain boots or something. And I walk in, and in the hallway, all of a sudden, like my feet become stuck. Now, and I'm not I never talk like this and I never ever believe in this shit. But I was like, almost like my feet were concrete and this rushing, warm sensation came from my head to my toes. And I was like, not like I'm going to pass out, right? Not like I'm faint or I didn't eat enough, or it was not like I'm going to piss myself. Like
that wasn't urine.
That wasn't it. It was no urine. It was just this warm, rushing down head to feet. And I was like, what the fuck was that?
Wow. That's good.
I like wanted more. So I just like stood there in it. 4 or 5 more steps. I go grab my handle on my door to my room. Happens again. Only this time, feet through the head.
I cannot believe you didn't share this with me.
I shared it with Artie.
You did.
Right away. Because it happened and I was like, what the hell did I just experience? Okay. And then I get my boots on. I get to the small groups. It was small groups, not lunch. And he was sitting outside and we still had about 5-10 minutes. And I sat with him. I'm like, this just happened to me. And he goes, think of yourself as like this drain. Your inside is like your emotions and your history and your trauma and all this stuff. It's like a clogged up drain. And something you've done here clearly has unclogged that. And what you felt in the hallway was this cleansing from the head to the feet. And then what you felt at the door was this allowing, because you now have space for this beautiful process, whatever I'm getting out of it.
Holy shit.
To go in.
The fact that he was there and could help you interpret what you experienced.
Who gets that?
That's pretty good. That's serendipity right there.
100. So are you and I sitting right here right now. Serendipitous. Sliding door shit.
Yeah, you text me a couple days ago.
I said, Drew, and I hadn't talked to you in a year.
We hadn't talked in a year.
I was supposed to do your podcast a year ago.
Was that a year ago?
A year ago. I looked at our text. I wrote you 4 days ago. Yeah. I said, Drew, I only said that. And then you go, are you ready? Like for your podcast? And I said, there's a twist. And I said, you're going to be on my podcast. And you said, let's do it next week over Zoom.
And you said,
I said,
nope, we're doing it in person. And I said, I'm actually going to be in Vegas in 3 days.
We're doing it in Vegas. You go, shut up. I'm going to be in Vegas on Friday for my kids' volleyball tournament. Yeah. So serendipity is a very big word here because I wasn't supposed to be at Hoffman. 2 times I canceled. 3rd time I was there. Brant was supposed to go to Connecticut. He changed to be there at that time. You were there.
Yeah.
Artie was there. And I have this moment that I'll never forget clearly because who gets that?
I say that Hoffman is for well people. It's for well people.
Thank you.
Because if you do this kind of deep work, and you're not well. We have a big screening process. If you do all this unpacking and you're not really put together, it's going to spin you out and you're going to, come unglued.
That's one of my questions.
And then we put solvent to help people stay together. But it takes strength of a psyche to be able to unpack all these different ways of being, so much so that these are like part of our identity that we formed early on. And so for people to be able to do that, that's a surrender, vulnerable process that leaves people in a tender place.
So tender.
And there are some people who that is not appropriate for.
Which is great because it leads me to only some questions that I prepared for you. Because other than that, I wanted to just wing it with
Let it
Drew.
rip.
I'm going to let it rip. What? Because you led me perfectly to it. I got out of the Hoffman process. Brant and I, our friendship, just our love for each other, because I left there loving a lot of people, truly feeling love. And then I fell in love with Brant, like madly and deeply.
You guys did it well. You stayed away from each other. You did your work. You were friends. And then you let your love grow organically post-process.
It was so interesting because, like,
Fantastic.
I'm going to tell you something. Had I known what I know now, then I would have been in his chalet every night.
Of course, breaking protocol
Which
and
I
the rules,
didn't
which
break
says,
protocol because I didn't know, because I didn't give a shit, because I didn't even look at him that way. So this is the craziest part, is like, you come out, I'm now madly, deeply in love with my partner. And we think about it where I'm like, us
was there. Yeah.
And I could have been making out with you and eating candy in your room. Yeah, I know this now, but like, I couldn't have given two shits who was there, if they looked good. And I was fully me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of like, I'm fixing myself for someone else. I'm there, I'm broken, I'm gonna get fixed, and then that relationship will be better. Well, and I thought,
well, what, Mike, if that was true, how'd you get so much out of it, given you went into it thinking you were fixing yourself? It must not have fully been true.
Fully not
because
true.
That's maybe why you went, but what you got and what you did there was all about you.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I went there thinking, I'm broken, I need to get fixed. Everything's great, right? I love myself, I love my friends, I love my family. All that's great. Only to realize in this process, one of the things, a big thing for me, was that I did not love myself. I didn't love myself at all. Because no one that loves themselves, no one that loves themselves would ever allow that kind of shit to happen in their life. Would ever allow someone to treat them that way, would ever allow certain things from work to happen that way, or friendships to happen, or I was absolutely not loving myself at all.
Yeah.
It was a lot of, vindictive, self-vindictive behavior. And so here I am going, I love myself, I know myself, I'm good there. I'm going to fix myself for this relationship, only to be in this process going, I'm falling in love with myself. I mean, I fell in love with myself there.
And that, again, words, like, people might be like, what does it mean to fall in love with ourselves?
Well, I'll tell you.
But it's a somatic, cellular experience, isn't it?
I got cellularly to feel that in that flooding and then that filling. And so I'm not righteous. I'm not this holy one. I'm like, I'm lucky for me because I went into something wholeheartedly ready for change, ready for transformation. What is it? Ready for...
When you're serious about change.
When you're serious, I was serious as hell.
Yeah, you were.
And I just... So coming out of this and people seeing the change then sparks people's interest to do the process.
Have you known a lot of people that
We've known a lot of people. We have sent, and by sent, I mean through them being with us.
At the end of the process, we say, don't proselytize. Don't try and get people to go. It's unbecoming. Live your process. Live it. And through that, if people are ready, they'll be ready. They'll notice it. They'll go. but don't push it on people because it brings people to the process who aren't ready. They're there because, oh my God, Allison pushed it on me. I don't really want to be here. Like, that's not good. That's not good for anybody.
No.
It's not good for us because then we're with a student who doesn't really want to be there, you know.
You probably get that a lot.
And so what does it mean to be ready is part of the question. So on some level, you got to have some pain.
Yeah.
You got to have a pain point. You got to have something that's not working. Or you got to have something you want. Like, I so yearn for more love, for more clarity, for more success in my professional life, for a deeper connection with people in my life. So either a pain point and hopefully the other one, which is some vision that you have that you're not able to get to. And that 1-2 combination is, people are motivated. They're ready.
Yeah. They're ready.
They're ready.
And that could not be more true because unfortunately, we have had people that have gone.
Oh, you've had the other too.
We've had the other.
Wow.
And so that
So
I
what
think
have
is
you
something
guys
I
learned?
wanted to get out of you to have people know
Yeah.
is you just said it, like, who's it right for?
Yeah.
If you're not ready, if you don't have a pain point or a aspiration, like you're not getting shit. You are not ready for change.
Yeah.
You're not. How many people leave that you know of? Obviously, you don't know the whole thing, but leave the process. Because I think what we hear a lot is the partners of people that are going get scared for them to go because they have fear that when they leave the process that they will leave them.
Yeah.
Do you see that a lot?
Sometimes, but it's not without a call to growth, a call to courage, a chance to change and grow. You know, I work with a lot of couples.
Yeah.
That's where I find that really dynamic, like, because, you know, you can say you're enlightened and you've done lots of work, but marriage or partnership calls that out, calls it into question, like living with a partner, sharing a bank account, a bed, like these are things that bring it to the truth comes out. And so what we notice is that a lot of times people get together and it's like, okay, we've met each other, we've fallen in love, great, we have it. Don't you change and I won't change and we'll just keep it. And that kind of agreement is super common and super not gonna work.
Dangerous.
Because it's dangerous. Because life changes. You one episode I did watch, you're like, you can never predict what's gonna happen on the set, on a building, like things change, design changes. When you do a demo, how many times do you come up against something when you demo that like, holy shit, this thing is there that we didn't see behind the drywall?
Yeah, happens more often than not, right? You can't plan.
That's
so
right.
You have to be able to shift.
So the constant is change. And so what ends up happening is that the people who refuse to change are the ones who get left.
The process should be, I see your change and I want that for me.
That's right.
Not for me to stay with you.
That's right.
For me alone.
That's right.
Because if there's no me, there's no us, and there's no this.
Yeah. Ooh, nice.
Ooh. Good thing we have that on tape. But right?
Put that
because
in a
it's
clip.
so common.
It is.
And it's fascinating for so many reasons. But I think it's fascinating that the fear is there for so many couples when one is going to Hoffman.
Yeah.
And whether it's Hoffman or something else.
That's right.
When one is going to seek change and the other is like, what's this going to do for us? Instead of the other person going, how do I want to change?
Yeah.
Or
Well, that's a scary proposition.
I know.
That, you know, Brant changes and you change and yet you're still together.
Yeah.
So because people think we have to stay the same because that's the thing that keeps us together. And it's not actually true. You can have a beautiful bond and have change be a natural part of the experience of both people.
It is, and it's crazy too, because you come out of something like Hoffman. I came out of something like Hoffman, and
There's a good little shift right there.
Thank
the
you.
to I.
Yeah.
You know, when people talk about themselves, they always use the pronoun you. And it's like, wait a minute, say I.
It's a big
So you
Hoffman
shift
deal.
That is
Thanks.
kind of
I was like, not for you, but for you, because it was for me first. But it is so real. Like one of the
I
things
gotta
in
watch
Hoffman.
more of your shows.
I hope you do.
There's that energy.
You're gonna love it. But
This is really interesting because you did rehab the kitchen.
Yep.
And then you
On Kitchen Crashers.
Kitchen Crashers.
Yeah, my camera
and then
DP
you did
here.
Then you did houses.
Yeah.
In different
Windy
locations.
City Rehab. No, Chicago only.
Chicago only, but now Sin City Rehab.
Yeah.
And now you're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you take your essence and your authenticity, I'm super curious, like what's next?
I don't know, but I sure have a lot I want to do. And I can't contain the excitement. Like I wake up and I'm like, let's go.
Oh my gosh.
What can I do today? Or how can I stop talking about something and just do it? And I've always been that way. I don't really talk a big game. I just do it. I go, okay, well, this is what I want to do. And maybe it's going to fail. Maybe this podcast will suck. I don't think it's going to, but maybe it will. Or maybe people won't watch my show anymore. And maybe the ratings will suck and I won't be on TV anymore. But like, you know what's going to be okay? Me.
Yeah.
Because I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I feel this calmness. Like as the Hoffman process has calmed me, where I feel so present. I am not talking to somebody waiting for me to say something, although we are in a podcast. So I guess I am talking.
Yeah, but it's a conversation.
I'm consciously listening to you.
Yeah, and you reference something, which is when we're hearing someone else speak, are we thinking about what we're going to say next, or are we actually in and listening and present to what they're saying?
And to me, that was a very big pattern in my last relationship, which was waiting to just say something versus listening, really listening. And
did he have that pattern too? Because what can happen in couples if one person has it, the other person has it, because that becomes the way in which
I was a bit of an interrupter, which means I was not consciously listening.
Maybe he talked too much.
He could talk a dog off a meat truck, which is what he used to say about me. But that guy,
because you were stealing his thunder.
You know, he did say to me that I dimmed his light.
Okay, so this is like zero-sum game. If you're bright, I'm not. And in fact, maybe this is what you and Brand have, which is, fuck that, we're both bright.
Yeah.
We're both going to shine.
Yeah.
Let's do it together.
Yeah. And if you're dim, let me put my light on you. Yeah. And maybe that brightens you up a little bit. Yeah. And if you're dim, same with me. But like, celebrate the brightness in others and don't make it that it's dimming yours.
Can I share something? Because
Yes.
I was thinking about this. One of the things I was thinking about, we did a remodel and years ago.
Okay.
And there were times where we would come back in the house, my wife and I, we'd come back in, we'd be like, whoa, you guys did a lot of work today or got a lot done.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes he's waiting for parts,
It's so
that journey.
still.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, what? There's nothing different.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he would say, visible improvements. And then he explained to me,
This is your contractor.
yes,
Yeah.
he explained to me that there is work he does that I would not know any different. It would look like nothing happened. Mm-hmm. But in a house remodel, there's a shit ton of work that you can't actually tell any work was done. And I think
You got a good contractor there for you.
well,
he
think
spoke a different language.
He did.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the work of transformation and change in a personal growth space, which is sometimes we do work and there's clearly results. And then other times we do work and we can't quite tell. We need patience. We need time. There's change on the inside, but it hasn't necessarily reflected on the outside. There aren't visible improvements. And sometimes there are visible improvements, but we have to trust the change that happens internally, even if some people around us can't see it yet. That's the connection
How did you
between
just
the
do
work
that?
you do and the work I do.
So it's like when my plumber's at the house
Here we go.
doing the rough-ins behind the walls,
Yes.
but the faucet isn't on there yet. The beautiful trim isn't installed. And you walk in, you go, what the hell? There's nothing done here. And the plumber's
right.
like, but look inside.
Are you kidding? I've roughed this whole thing out.
Yeah, look inside the walls.
That's right.
That's the real work. Because
That's
that
right.
beautiful faucet won't have water coming out of it if I didn't do the inside work.
That's right.
And you can't let that flow beautifully without the inside work.
That's right.
Drew, you just did a whole construction meets Hoffman.
That's right. The Venn diagram between Hoffman and
Construction and design. Look at you. Of course you can. You can do anything.
So what questions do you have?
How many people do you keep in touch with where you feel like you've really seen massive transformation?
Fortunately, through interviewing people for my podcast, actually the Hoffman podcast, I just interviewed a woman who went to find love. And it wasn't to find love in the process, but I just interviewed her and she said, I addressed all the blocks. Like I kept getting in my own way. And I used my process to look at how I screw up relationships over and over and over. And she said, I'm now married. She showed me some wedding shots. Aww. And she's going to have a baby soon. And she attributes it to her work at Hoffman and the way in which she made relationships her North Star during the week.
Wow.
And that's, but people have changes in jobs. Yeah. We often get we also have successful people.
You do. You have very successful people that come there.
Yeah.
You have very famous people that come there.
That's part of it too. Not every process has famous people, but what we notice is that their life looks similar, but they're just so much happier. They're so much more content. They're so much more relaxed at home in their bodies. So that doesn't have a lot of wow factor for change. And yet it's everything.
Everything.
Their marriage is happier, healthier. They're more present with their kids.
Yeah.
You can't pay enough for that.
I'm going to ask
one
more.
Hit it.
I could talk to you all night. I know you're like, no.
No, we could.
You're just...
Because we just go everywhere.
Well, you're this wealth of knowledge for people who need to know, because imagine, I think about walking this earth in this life, not having done that. Holy shit. It wouldn't have been as fun. It wouldn't have been as enlightening. Yeah. It wouldn't have me right here, right now. I promise you that. I wouldn't be doing a podcast. I wouldn't be in Vegas doing Sin City Rehab.
Yeah. Well, we talk about, people focus on, well, what should I do differently? What should I do? What should I say? They want and then I want this job. I want the car. I want the relationship. And so that's the have. And the second one is the do. And so we sort of say, look, start with the be. And I don't know if you remember this in your process. I do remember this. The be, do, have, as opposed to do, have, be, right? It's not about what you're doing and what you have so that you can eventually be happy.
Yeah.
And we say, let's focus on your being first and foremost all week long. And then people will know what to say or do because they're connected to themselves.
Yeah. Couldn't be more true.
Yeah. That's kind of what you were saying.
Yeah. You just said it better.
Wow.
You did, because it's like you live and breathe this process for a reason. And I want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
Because you're
welcome. Thank you for those kind words.
Like I said, I could talk to you forever. And my gratitude will remain so strong and so sacred to me. And so I feel very happy. I feel very fulfilled, and I feel very grateful.
Thank you,
And I
Allison.
see you and I love you.
Oh, I see you and I love
And
you.
I just thank you for doing this and being here. And I hope that people really do get curious and really look into the Hoffman process. And if you're lucky, you'll get in. It's pretty high demand.
There is a 6-month wait list right now.
Of course, it's a 6-month wait list because this is serious stuff. And if you're lucky enough, you'll get this guy.
Well, we have like 50
course you
teachers
do.
now. We have so many.
But if
we
you're
train
lucky
some
enough,
more.
you get this guy.
But you know, Allison, I was trying to get you on the Hoffman podcast.
I want to come on your podcast.
You do?
Can we do 2?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Meaning I could be on yours just because you were on mine.
Yeah.
I want to see Drew again. But can I come to Colorado?
Yes.
And can we put it around when you do one of the group things? And then I would love that.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Because then Brant and I could come out. You and can have Brant and I on.
When do you start filming?
I get to make my own schedule.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be on your podcast. But I see you. I love you dearly. And I want one of those Hoffman hugs. I guess not a real one, but you know, like the halfie.
Hoffman hugs.
I want a Hoffman hug.
Yes.
Get over.
Let's go.
Don't look at my pants.